Topic: This house believed that priests should not marry. Ladies and gentlemen of this house, I am Ralph Roland Mosqueda from the opposition side, and I believe that priests should not marry. The practice of priestly celibacy began to spread in the Western Church in the early Middle Ages. In the early 11th century, Pope Benedict VIII responded to the decline in priestly morality by issuing a rule prohibiting the children of priests from inheriting a property. A few decades later, Pope Gregory VII issued a decree against clerical marriages. The church was 1,000 years old before it definitively took a stand in favor of celibacy. In the 12th century, at the Second Lateran Council held in 1139, within a rule was approved forbidding priests to marry. In 1563, the Council of the Trent reaffirmed the tradition of celibacy. Before I will present my arguments, let me define these terms. Clerical celibacy is the discipline within the Catholic Church by which only unmarried men are ordained to the episcopate, to the priesthood in some autonomous particular churches, and similarly to the diaconate. In other autonomous particular churches, the discipline applies only to the episcopate. Canon law is the system of laws that legal principles made and enforced by the church, hierarchical authorities to regulate its external organization and government, and to order and direct the activities of Catholic Church toward the mission of the church. As a speaker from the opposition, I strongly believe that priests who marry is against the system of laws and legal principles made and enforced by the church. I have three arguments that will support my claim. First argument: priests who belong to the religious orders take a vow of celibacy. According to the Catholic Church Code of Canon Law, celibacy is a special gift of God which allows practitioners to follow more closely the example of Christ, who was chaste. Another reason is that when a priest enters into service of God, the church becomes his highest calling. All priests take a vow of celibacy when they are ordained. A vow never to be married. The purpose of the vow is threefold. First is a holy sacrifice made to demonstrate devotion to God and the church. Second, it avoids having parish support an entire family rather than just its priest. Third, it avoids the sort of corruption attendant within a hereditary priesthood. This was obviously more of a problem during the Middle Ages when the rule was introduced. Taking this vow is a sacred covenant between the priest and God. Breaking it is a grievous sin. Under the normal circumstances, however, marriage is regarded as a sacrament. Everyone in the Catholic Church who hasn't taken a vow of celibacy is expected to get married at some point. Second argument: Church has established impediment that blocks the validity of marriages attempted by those who have been ordained. Clearly, therefore, priests are not permitted to marry. In fact, it is possible for an ordained priest to marry validly in the Catholic Church. Canon 1087 states unequivocally that those in the sacred orders invalidly attempt marriage. The only way that a man who has already been ordained priest can get married in the eyes of the church is for him to have been previously returned to the lay state. But if a priest cannot marry, does it logically follow that married man cannot be ordained a priest? Well, Canon 1042 N1 would suggest that this is indeed the case, because it states that a man who has a wife is impeded from ordination to the priesthood. The wording of this canon indicates that a widower who has indeed married but no longer has a wife can be ordained a Catholic priest, but so long as the wife is still living, ordination of the husband is not possible. It would seem that the issue is thus closed and there's nothing to be further to be said. Third argument: celibacy is not an imposition. Catechism of the Catholic Church 1579 states that the Latin Church does not see celibacy as an imposition. Rather, it sees celibacy as a sign that the priest's consecration to the Lord is within an undivided heart, where they give themselves entirely to the God and to men. Celibacy is a sign of this new life to the service of which the church minister is consecrated. Accepted with a joyous heart, celibacy radiantly proclaims the reign of God. To summarize, taking this vow is a sacred covenant between the priest and God. Breaking it is a grievous sin under normal circumstances. However, marriage is regarded as a sacrament. Everyone in the Catholic Church who hasn't taken a vow of celibacy is expected to get married at some point. I enumerate my stand that priests should not marry.